Well, I love that you shared Logo Colors website because I think that's what a lot of people think of when they think of branding. And the thing that I would say is branding is messaging. Then to me, that's the foundation. You can't really, if you try to develop colors and pick fonts before you know the tone and the expression and the archetypes and the personality of both the brand itself and the audience, it's like, cool, you as the founder might like these colors, but does it correlate emotionally to the values, to the tone, to the personality, to the mission, to the all these other things that are much more messaging founded?
Welcome to the Agents of Change, the podcast experience you've been waiting for your entire marketing career. Search, social, mobile, AI, blockchain, and neuromarketing. These are the Agents of Change, and so are you. Digital marketing success awaits, and your transformation begins now.
Welcome to another episode of the Agents of Change podcast. This is the podcast that helps you reach and engage more of your ideal customers online so that you can grow your business. My name's Rich Brooks. I'm your host. This is episode 615, powered by Flight New Media. One of the things I have been shouting from the rooftops lately is how much good branding, a strong, meaningful brand, can mean to your company's bottom line, especially in the age of AI. With AI, anyone can design a good enough logo, create a good enough tagline, and write good enough sales or marketing copy. But when every business has good enough, how are you going to stand out? When everyone is relying on AI for good enough isn't, well, good enough anymore. In the age of AI, being authentic and having a strong, memorable brand that stands for something becomes your superpower. Which is why today we're going to be talking about branding. Not colors, not fonts, not even logos. We're talking about the feeling someone gets when they interact with your brand. Whether it's picking up one of your guitar cables, taking your food tour, or working with your frontline workers. Our guest today calls it your brand world. And today we're going to be exploring that brand world and her four-part messaging framework that will help you build a brand world that your customers want to be part of. Before we get to that, I just finished up the beta program for our new brand GPT offerings with a couple of clients. I think I mentioned it in another episode. What is a brand GPT, you ask? It's a custom-built AI assistant that helps you create content that speaks to the pain points of your ideal clients and delivers that message in your brand voice. For me, this was a great experience. I got to sit down with two clients and really get to know their ICPs, their ideal client personas, help them refine their brand voice and create a custom GPT that can help them scale. Both of them asked me if I needed a testimonial when I was ready to launch brand GPT as an offering, so I took them up on it. It's nice when a client says they'd like to sing your praises, right? Or at least the praises of the AI tool you built for them. Catherine Wygant Fawcett is the executive director of IFOB, the Institute for Family-Owned Business, an organization here in Maine that we work with. She told me the biggest shift has been time and clarity. Brand GPT pulls together research I could never gather on my own, helps me articulate and protect IFOB's voice, and supports the practical work behind the scenes, from data to strategy. I'm actively testing what truly moves the dial, but is already helping me lead more thoughtfully and efficiently. And honestly, it's been a lot of fun to use. The other client, Heather Bleer, who is the owner of Dirigo Consulting and Clinical Services, told me, what differentiates the brand GPT from other services I've used is how well it aligns with my intended voice and tone, particularly when nuance and professional restraint matter. Now, she's someone who often has to walk a fine line in dealing with her clients, and we really dialed in how to speak to them with a voice that reflects their expertise and authority while still understanding the fraught emotional situations of the parties involved. Both of these brand GPT experiences were great, but what I found fascinating was how different each one came out and how each client started using them differently. We've now moved into a 6-month calibration period where we're continually tweaking and improving the tool. I'm going to say it's been an incredibly rewarding experience for me personally, and like Catherine said, it's been a whole lot of fun. Now that we're done with the beta testing, we are going to be rolling this out as a full offering to a select group of clients and AOC listeners. So if you're interested, let me know. I've included some info in this week's email, so you can just hit reply or reach out to me through the Agents of Change website. Now, let's learn more about brand worlds and messaging. My next guest is a leadership mentor and the founder of Karoo Creative, a full-service branding, messaging, and website studio. She developed Animus Branding, a psychology-driven approach to marketing shaped by her 15-plus years at the intersection of digital marketing and buyer psychology. She partnered with leading mission-driven entrepreneurs, building brand worlds that reflect the depth and impact they lead with. Through her proprietary messaging strategies, she helps founders cultivate their brand voice, build legacies over businesses, and communicate with bold, unignorable confidence. Today, we're going to be talking about building brand worlds with Luna Battalia. Luna, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks so much. I'm so happy to be here.
So looking back, how did you first get interested in branding and messaging work?
I started in fashion. That was my undergrad. I was a 16-year-old with a sewing machine and created a clothing line out of my bedroom and sold it to boutiques all over my town and where I grew up. And I knew how to put together a brand. I had labels on the clothes and that I would make and sew in by hand from like things I bought at Michael's, and then a tag that matched and had a whole story with it, and people would have a whole experience. And from a very young age, I understood the whole experience that someone would have with a purchase. My mom was someone who, we didn't have a lot, but what we had was nice and simple and going to last a long time. And so these little things throughout my life that were beauty centric and experiential and minimal and not just like things for the thing's sake, but really purposeful, was how I was brought up and the kind of world that I lived in. And so once I got into fashion and we'd have collections, it really kind of showed me that, and then had a whole spiritual awakening and got into a different world of coaching and psychology and addiction care and counseling and all of these things. And it just kept coming back to helping people that were creating something in the world. That's what I like. I like to work with people who are makers. They make things happen. They get things done. And so anything that can help them do that better, and I believe in their mission, I'm all about it. So it's been a really cool kind of evolution.
Excellent. Now, when I gave your introduction, we talked about a brand world. What does that mean in plain English?
Think of like a VR headset that you would put on that Meta has, and you'd go into a whole world. That's what I do for brands, is create an experience for people. And the way that they have experiences is oftentimes emotional. That's like, I could be with 5 people from 5 different nations. We don't speak the same language, but someone starts laughing or crying or feeling nervous and anxious. We all know what they're experiencing, and it gives us a shared experience. And so the world that we're creating is an experiential world, and brands need to not just be able to explain what they do. Yes, you need to be able to verbally explain what you do, the deliverables, all the informational stuff, but that's not what converts people. What converts people is feeling like they belong in a space, in a world, with a product. You could sell anything, a certain type of cup. And if you make people feel like they belong in a world where people need this cup and it changes their lives by drinking out of it, they're going to buy it. And so this brand world is really from every touch point that someone is going to relate with your brand, whether I'm sitting next to an, like, I don't want a low level employee, but like a
front line.
Yeah, frontline employee or the founder on a plane. They're both going to be able to share about this company, this brand, in a way that I'm sitting on the plane, and as soon as the thing goes off, I'm looking it up. As soon as I get home, I remembered it. And so everyone, start to finish, from contractors to clients, should be experiencing the same thing inside. So if you're a company that says that their values are X, and then you treat your contractors a certain way, but you're giving your clients this, it's incongruent and it will show up somewhere else. So it's that whole experiential world, from every touch point being something that people can immerse themselves in, know that they belong, and that they want to return to.
When you first said cup, and I'm guessing you were looking around and you saw a cup and you're like, that's a good reason. That's a good example. I immediately thought of Stanley cups, not the hockey ones, but like Stanley brand, and also Yeti mugs, which have almost become ubiquitous for corporate gifts. Are those good examples? Or what is a brand that we've all heard of that you're like, they walk the walk, we're living in their VR headset?
Stanley is a great example because not that long ago, I am a tea drinker. Well, I'm a tea drinker, period. But I have this Stanley mug, a thermos. I camp a lot. I've always had a Stanley camping, and they have this master series, this black one that's amazing. This was before all the colors and the fancy stuff and the straws and yoga moms and stuff. And I would go to REI and I'd be like, do you guys have Stanley mugs? Because I used to get them here. And they're like, we don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, green, gray lid. And they'd be like, we don't know. And we don't have it. And then like 2 or 3 years later, so they tapped into a market of buyers and they created a whole story. And there's people making fun of themselves. And there's reels of like the giant Stanley cups making fun of themselves. But they have a market. So like me as a person who camps and drinks tea, I'm going to buy one Stanley for my entire life. But the yoga mom who goes to PTA is a great advertisement. Me camping in the woods by myself is not going to necessarily get people to buy the green, gray Stanley that's been around forever. But you put it in lots of colors and you get it in the hands of these women who now it's a sense of belonging. Oh, I'm like, I go to Pilates and they're like, oh, I love your Stanley. It matches your outfit or whatever. And I'm like kind of laughing, but with my mason jar. But
right.
Yeah, they created a whole experience. So it's a great example because there's someone who pivoted who wasn't really doing that well. They had a product. It was very signature, like contractors who would work and dig the foundations for the buildings, the high rises in New York. The contractors, they'd have their Stanley. That was their market. And life is different. That's not what people are doing. So you have to adapt.
Mm-hmm. So why do you think that so many businesses struggle to create something? I mean, I think a lot of us understand branding and we put our logo and our colors on our website, but how do we create a consistent experience across our website, across social media, across all of our marketing, and across our physical products if we have them?
Well, I love that you shared logo, colors, website, because I think that's what a lot of people think of when they think of branding. And the thing that I would say is branding is messaging. Then to me, that's the foundation. If you try to develop colors and pick fonts before you know the tone and the expression and the archetypes and the personality of both the brand itself and the audience, it's like, cool, you as the founder might like these colors, but does it correlate emotionally to the values, to the tone, to the personality, to the mission, to all these other things that are much more messaging founded? And so I always start there. And to me, the message has 4 parts. So the first is the foundation: mission, values, a culture that you're creating, vision, where you're at now, what's the vision for right now, where are you going? So that's kind of foundational pieces. And it's the brand personality. So who are we as a brand? What's our vibe? What's our expression? What's our flavors? Also the voice is the big part of that, like the tone and the archetypes. The third part is the audience. And I focus, the demographics are really easy. Check. There's 5 of them. But the psychographics emotionally are really what kind of weaves all those people from potentially different demographics together. What is the one thing and that's the question I ask. If I were to give you this product or give you this service or experience or this book, what's the one thing I want you to take away? That should be really, really clear. So then once we have that audience and we know what the experience that we want them to take away is, the 4th part of messaging is storytelling. And I like to think of that as kind of making a little figure 8 between part 2 and part 3. So the brand personality and the audience desires. That's to me is the storytelling. How does the brand personality and the audience's desires weave together into anecdotes, things about historical figures, a Peaky Blinders comparison, like anything that you could do to kind of get your audience and their interests to connect with your brand. And so you can talk about anything as long as you can segue it back to that same undercurrent of their emotional desire. And that's the story. Stories as old as time. But you have to know those kind of 4 pieces of messaging before you can really put the website together. I always say copy dictates design.
Let's talk about that audience component for a second, because earlier we were talking about your love of Stanley cups back when it was like, take it off to the woods, and maybe they were all the same color at REI. And now it's like this yoga mom power move or something like that. And I'm not putting any aspersions anywhere. I'm just throwing it out there. It sounds like there was a shift and that happened there. I think some of the challenges that we have are, how do we know if our audience is actually our audience? Like maybe, and I'm putting words into your mouth and Stanley's mouth, like maybe they went in thinking, oh, we're going to create this amazing product for campers and worksite employees. And then they were like, wow, we can make so much more high quality products for a wider variety of people if we just add color to them. And maybe that happened and maybe that didn't. But how do we know what our audience actually likes? It seems like it's a very simple question, but I know it's more challenging than that. And I know that you focus a lot on psychographics, not just demographics. So maybe you can walk us through how you work with your clients to uncover that piece.
Yeah, I love this because we were originally talking about brand world, which is inviting or magnetizing your people into your brand world. And I think the answer to this question is really about you getting into their world. So your audience hangs out here, go hang out here, go talk to them, engage with them, whether that's online, in person, take a poll, create an event, invite a bunch of different people, have them invite their friends. Like, you only know by collecting data. And so you can kind of guess, oh, this is who I want my audience to be when you're building something. And you might have this ages or things, but then the more you start sharing, you're like, wow, these people are really responding. Or I'm getting a bunch of people who can't afford my services. Okay, well, I either need to, I wouldn't suggest this, but lower your prices or talk to a different audience. It's very easy to talk to different groups of people. I say it's easy, but there's people in the world who can be thrown in a room and talk to everyone there. And there's people who can talk to their kind of people, and that's it. And so brands are similar to people in that way. So I would be like, okay, immerse myself in their world. If this is my audience, and you'll quickly realize, oh, this isn't, like, there's something that's not resonating, that's not allowing us to connect. Is there another avenue of connection? It's collecting data. And so I'm a big advocate for just like real world conversations as much as polls and looking at my stats and conversion rates and all of that stuff, and looking at meta ads and all of these things to know who these people are. It's amazing how much information that they have on us to be able to do this. It's quite phenomenal. That's all really valuable, but I find that nothing is better than just having a real world conversation with someone and understanding their needs.
Luna, it feels like there might be some underlying tension where we as owners, founders, whatever you want to call it, we have this idea for what we want to make, what we want to bring to market. And then we start talking to people and they start providing us maybe the answers we weren't expecting. And yes, maybe we can go off and find the right audience, but maybe not. How do we understand how much we should give in to what our audience is asking for? And how much should we stand up and say, no, this is what I believe, this is what I stand for? Or is it the typical marketing answer, well, it depends?
Oh, funny. I was already about to go, well, there's a middle. I think that the middle path for me would be to really name what's uncompromising. What are you willing to compromise on and what are you not? That's a good thing to go into any relationship, any agreement, anything that you're going to say yes to, and know what are the things I'm willing to compromise on and what are my non-negotiables. So start there. The second is, what's the motivation? Is the motivation to sell a product? Great. Those people are going to have a lot more wiggle room on what they do because their motivation is to make sales. The people I work with, they have different motivations, which is much more impact, culture shaping, experiential, transformational. And so I think that knowing which type of company you are and what those values are going to really steer that ship. And lastly, I think it's really about, okay, this wasn't landing. It's often not that you have to change the offer or the product. It's mostly just the way that you share it. The product and the offer can stay pretty much the same. It's rare that that's really the issue. It's usually there's a gap in the messaging and the marketing and the storytelling that isn't allowing people to understand why this is going to be so valuable for them, or they don't feel like they belong or resonate with in the brand world. And so you're either speaking to the wrong people or it's the words that you're saying. I don't necessarily think it's the product. I think you can sell anything, really.
So let's talk about that a little bit, because if messaging is the foundation of everything, then what does a strong messaging foundation look like?
I love this. So a big part of the foundation for messaging for me is, what is the culture that your brand is creating in the world? And I give this prompt to my clients: we're creating a culture where, and it's just a sentence stem, fill it in. If your brand were to, the fact that your brand exists, the fact that you're choosing to bring a product or service into the arena is a feat in and of itself. A lot of people do it, but there's a lot of people who don't have the courage to bring the things that they have inside of them to life. So just throwing your hat in the arena deserves recognition. And by doing so, that also comes with a lot of responsibility. To create a business, to create a brand, to create something that is public facing is naturally going to impact and shape the culture around it and the people who engage with it. So I think seeing a sense of responsibility in that is really important. So one of the first questions I ask is, what is the culture that this brand is creating? What is the hope for the world? And when I say the world, I mean the brand world, which could be 140 people. And that's plenty for that particular brand. They don't need more than that. It could be thousands of people, tens of thousands, millions, whatever that brand world is, it's going to ripple out. So if it's 100 people, the people in that world, contractors, employees, clients, customers, they're going to have some kind of experience and impact that is going to ripple out. You have bigger numbers with that. So for me, the message is really rooted in understanding the responsibility that comes with throwing your hat in the arena and creating anything in the first place.
All right. So we've talked a lot about messaging and storytelling and the words to use. How does the messaging influence the visual side of branding? What's the relationship between the copy or the words we use and the design, in your opinion?
Yeah. So when we're in messaging, we will find tone. In the personality phase, we'll find tone, archetypes, and expression, and point of view. But for me, the personality in the messaging part is tone, expression, and archetypes. And so it's really, how do you express that point of view? Are you tough love? Are you kind of nurturing? Is it kind of sassy? Is it bold and unapologetic? And obviously, if it's bold and unapologetic, I don't have this like pastel, soft, visual script, font kind of aesthetic that goes with it. There's maybe a more romantic or nurturing brand that's products can be wrapped in those colors and fonts that is going to be more. So I always start with the brand personality. It's also, what are people attracted to? So when you have that audience, there's their desires, their emotions. And I often think that there's something that the audience thinks that they need, and then there's something that we know that they need. And we really need to be able to speak to what they think they need, not necessarily what we know might help them. And that's the emotional piece that really kind of shows up again and again and again. So if they need to feel safe, if they need to feel kind of pushed to their edge, these are the type of people that are not going to take action until push comes to shove. Okay, well, I might have more colors that have like reds and browns and darker, bright, stronger colors if that's where they're at. So it's personality and then audience, the emotional desires that they have and how those weave together. And obviously you can look at something and be like, wow, this really elicits these emotions. I'm in a world, this is the vibe. I can look at this world like a Pinterest board. You can look at the world and you can be like, this is the vibe. You can look at this world and you can kind of go, this is the vibe. And it's like, what's the vibe that your world is creating? And is that where these people that you've decided or your audience want to be? You have to kind of throw it out there to actually know.
So all of this sounds good, but I always like to just kind of lock this in with some real world data points. So I'm sure there are people out there going like, yeah, I'd love a better brand, or I'd love a brand that was more in line with my audience or myself or whatever. But I'm really just looking for leads. So if you're doing a branding project and somebody's looking for some proof that this is actually working, what are some of the KPIs, if any, that you're tracking? How do we know if this is working?
I mean, engagement, conversions, this is something. So I've done split tests for my own business and for different clients where we'll have kind of like get it up quick, short and sweet, keep it simple, bullet points, mostly because of time and a scheduling thing. And then we're working on the brand in the back end and they need to put out an offer or something, or they have something that's ready to go. And part of selling it is how they're funding the rest of their brand growth. This happens all the time with startups. And so you're collecting data as you go. I love this approach. And so we're looking at these conversion rates. And so when I have pages like this, I'm comparing them. You can do this with ads. I've done this with ads, keeping it really simple versus like having a really branded experience, and different things work on different platforms. And so some platforms are more world oriented, like especially visual places. And some of them are going to, like, you go to Substack, everything looks somewhat the same. You can kind of change the fonts on that header to like 2 or 3 options. So there's different places that are going to create that world, but the storyline is going to create that world. And the pictures that they use for the cover of each Substack, these 2 little things are going to create a world. And so we're looking at conversion rates. I think it's just comparing them. We do quick edits. And so I have seen for my business and lots of clients that conversion rates, what I hear often is industry standard conversion rates for sales pages are 3 to 4%. And myself and my clients are consistently between 11 and 25%.
Wow.
And so I have programs that, okay, if this is industry standard, is saying 3 to 4%, and like my minimum conversions pages for different products and sales things are 11%. Well, what am I doing that they're not doing? And I look at a lot of these pages and they all look the same. And so industry standards is to just sell things quickly and to convert. And so there's reaching out to big pools of people without really clear messaging, without all these qualifiers, with pages that look the same. And so that's industry standards. I'm like, okay, cool. That's great for the industry. I'm doing a whole different thing over here that it might not reach as many people, but I've seen again and again that we can get higher conversions by creating a more emotional experience.
If somebody wanted to get started about improving their messaging this week, what's the first thing you'd recommend they should do?
Interview someone who they think is their ideal client.
Awesome. And I understand you have a freebie for the listeners today and a discount for your course. How can people find those?
Yeah, so Building an Attraction Brand is the freebie, and I'm sure you'll have the links.
We'll include all the links,
Great.
Yes.
That's the freebie. And then Messenger is it used to be called Magnetic Messaging. Messenger is the messaging course. It's a really great program for DIY. It's what I do with my private clients that is thousands of dollars and customized over 15 years of me doing this. I've taken all the bits and pieces that I walk people through into a DIY self-paced program to really understand what brand messaging is and craft it as you go.
Awesome. And I'm sure those are great resources and people should check them out. But if they just want to reach out to you and make a connection, where can we send them online?
I hang out in 2 places. One is Instagram, and I'm at Luna Battalia. And then Crew Creative is the brand studio. And Luna Love Leadership is our website.
Awesome. And those links will be in the show notes as well. Luna, thank you so much for your time today. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Thanks so much, Rich. Thanks for having me.
A lot to think about when it comes to what Luna shared with us. And if you need a second listen, or if you want to read the show notes or a transcript or the blog post about what I learned from today's episode, just head on over to our website at theagentsofchange.com/615. It's all there ready for you, including all the links that Luna shared. There was a lot to unpack from today's episode, but my biggest takeaway was the best brands don't just explain what they do. They create a world people want to be part of. Build yours. Become an agent of change.
Don't miss another thrilling episode of the Agents of Change podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform.